So, perfectionism creates procrastination, which in turn leads to overwhelm. The fear of not being perfect can lead to missed opportunities or opportunities that you had that you tried to be perfect and did not complete on time. So, that's almost worse, right? Not everybody needs to be perfect in everything. If we were, we will not need each other. Society does not function that way. Self compassion is step number one before doing any mindfulness based approaches or even improving small things in life. If we don't have compassion, then we are not okay with partial successes. We are not okay with being imperfect in ourselves. Welcome to MindSattva, practical wisdom for modern life. I'm Dr. Mitika Kanabar. I'm an everyday seeker, a curious thinker, and a lifelong learner. Have you ever had those conversations where you thought, this needs to be explored a little bit more? Maybe it's about spirituality. Maybe it's about finding that one thing that helps you bring balance in your life. MindSattva is your space. It's your community where we all come together and develop this. Through conversations with guests, we will explore ideas about clarity and about living in balance. Balance is the beginning point, it's not the destination. Every episode is an invitation to think differently, to live fully, and begin again. We are going to pick up a thread from last time. We talked about the pressure to be perfect. We just started talking about this. I think this conversation will continue, whether it is with our guests or for the solo episodes. So, whatever questions you may have or thoughts you may have, please share. So, one of the things that perfectionism brings is that idea that, oh, I will submit this later. I've written 75% of this draft, but it's just not perfect. Maybe I should wait for the deadline, just 11:59 p.m., right before midnight, that I will hit submit. I've been there. I'm sure some of us have all been there. And to the good students in the room who submit their homework a week in advance, I'm a little jelly here. Tell me your secret formula. I want to copy it too. But whom am I kidding? I'll probably try to make it perfect and still be right at 11:55 p.m. perhaps the next time. So perfectionism creates procrastination, which in turn leads to overwhelm. It can show up in different forms for different people. For example, one of the things physicians struggle with is writing their notes. What happens is you witness some of the most difficult times in people's lives and you struggle to put it there perfectly in a way to capture what truly happened. Now, thanks to some safe AI software is available, people are able to do it more accurately and things are changing. The idea, though, that my chart needs to be perfect or all my work needs to be perfect and everything that we discuss needs to be on there has both internal and external drivers. Internal is I want to capture everything, I want to make sure I document everything that I did. And external is if I don't do so, then what are the consequences, which can be quite problematic. So that creates this pressure to be perfect, but pressure to be perfect 25, 30 times a day is the sure recipe for burnout, which we are seeing across America today. Physician burnout is rising, and unfortunate events surrounding physicians and their health are also increasing. So we have to take a look at this for physicians and other healthcare professionals through the world. What can be done about this? For most folks, perfectionism can create this sense of overwhelm that I need to do everything all the time. And we spoke about it a little bit last time. It creates this internal sort of self criticism, self doubt, fear of the outcome. What will happen if I submit something that's not 110%? What do we do about it? One of the things we can consider doing is acknowledge that we do have perfectionist thinking. What phases in life or what aspects of our life are we striving for perfectionism, and then we are getting left behind because the speed is terribly slow of getting any projects done? The fear of not being perfect can lead to missed opportunities or opportunities that you had that you tried to be perfect and did not complete on time. So that's almost worse, right? So, like, if somebody is depending on you to submit this piece of work, you are trying to be perfect about it, you don't know what the other person wants until you send it across. Maybe think of it as, oh, I'm doing this writing work again. For example, I'm sending it across and asking for feedback rather than I'm going to write a PhD thesis on it before I hit send. That is not helpful and delays the team project from going on. And a lot of us have been there. How do you challenge that perfectionist thinking? Oh, I have to be perfect in this. This needs to get done the right way. The lawn needs to be mowed just perfectly. If there are weeds growing, then oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Well, that lawn is going to keep growing for a while. And you create this sort of vicious cycle of trying to be perfect, not making it on time, and then getting harder on yourself the next time. What if we took a step back, acknowledge that these are the places that my perfectionism shows up. These are the places it actually keeps me on track versus these are the places that is completely unhelpful. You can do this exercise with a coach, a mentor, therapist, what have you, or just with a friend, and kind of create a list of issues that you would like to clear the traffic jam with so that you are left with some free time, which is ever so decreasing day to day basis. We can also try to reframe our negative perceptions. Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I can never do this. Oh my gosh, I'm bad at math. Even though I know that 7 times 6 is 42, somebody once told me that I'm bad at math. So I'm going to keep with that belief. And anytime somebody asks me to just calculate a 10% tax on some simple thing, I will say that I'm bad at math. It seems like a small example, but what we are doing from a yoga perspective or Bhagavad Gita perspective, you are telling the world and essentially telling yourself that you are less than, which you are not. Not everybody needs to be able to do 4-digit multiplications in their head. Not everybody needs to be perfect in everything. If we were, we will not need each other. Society does not function that way. You bring to the table what you bring to the table, and that makes you uniquely you. How do you reframe something you do not like to do? So you have an internal pressure to be perfect. You are given a task that you do not like. What do you do about it? Oh, I need to rearrange my closet. I do not want to do this. I don't want to go through all that. I can't do this. And definitely, I cannot arrange it like the lady on Instagram who has everything figured out in her closet. Well, you can reframe this as I do not like this. However, I can devote 30 minutes or 45 minutes to this. And that's it. Put a hard stop and move on. In that reframe itself, let's see what all is happening. You are telling the truth to yourself. I do not like to do this. Second, you're acknowledging that you can't do this perfectly. Third, you're making a way understanding that the outcome is not going to be perfect. Fourth, the distress that you're creating by doing the task anyways, because you've been assigned that, you are putting a sort of specific time limit on that. So you're going to tolerate that distress for 30 minutes and that's it. And you're going to put a stop to it and move on to the next task. So that creates room for moving the needle forward, taking one step further. Now, will you discover that you are the best organizer on earth? Probably not. Do you need to be the best organizer on earth? Absolutely not, unless that's your day job. I don't see why you would need to. It creates room for your brain to take a deep breath and just be and get things off your plate or off your task list. So, what this creates is this positive motivation that I can at least try to do something rather than this expectation of it needs to be really done properly. It decreases the overwhelm that you surround yourself in a task. And even if 30 minutes seems like a very big thing, say I want to go for a 10-minute walk. I never walk. Everybody else is walking 45 minutes a day, which is nice to do, right? Right after dinner, if you walk 45 minutes, it helps lower your blood sugar. But my knees are hurting, my feet are hurting. What do I do about it? I can't do the 45 minutes, so I will give up. That's never the answer. The answer is I will try for 5 minutes or 10 minutes and see if my body can tolerate it. If it can't, maybe I switch to swimming instead. But you are trying, you're giving yourself a chance. One of the things that is most important when we think about facing perfectionism within ourselves or within others, or what society expects of us or we expect of others, self compassion is step number one before doing any mindfulness based approaches or even improving small things in life. If we don't have compassion, then we are not okay with partial successes. We are not okay with being imperfect in ourselves. And this is hardest, especially if, say, you're facing an abusive situation of some kind. You are in this diorama that people are constantly telling you you are bad, you're not good enough. And that may or may not be true. But if this is somebody who has a position of power over you, whether it's your boss's boss or somebody who has sway with the management of your company or knows the lady in charge of the homeowners association or whatever, it becomes a difficult situation in itself. The idea is to be realistic. I'm not saying, oh, I'm going to say that you need to think of yourself as you're the best person on earth or anything like that. No, be realistic. Like, ask people who have your good interest in heart. Do I do this? How do I take it forward? And these are deeper conversations that are best done with a therapist. But in that time, when somebody is saying you are terrible or you're getting bullied in school, for example, if you believe them and you remove compassion for yourself, I think you are severely shortchanging yourself. Even if you look at ancient literature, compassion is very important, it is vital. I think from a Gita perspective or from Indic faith perspective, compassion and Krishna go together. He's the best friend, he's the child, he's the father, he's the friend. He's what you need him to be. And many faiths also discuss their connection with spirituality in that same manner. This person, maybe you have a real person in life who is that best friend, your BFF, best friend forever, and you're blessed to have a great BFF. That person is going to be with you, right? Going to come out bad for you. So try to look at your situation as a fly on the wall from a third person perspective. And you may look at that situation in this way that, oh, if my friend were doing this and this was happening to her, how would I react to her situation? Like, oh, if my friend was in trouble for just getting targeted for whatever reason, maybe she's getting trolled online, would I start thinking she's a bad human? And if the answer is no, then you know that you're being harder on yourself than you are on other people. That's when self compassion comes in. We need to create space for compassion before we do anything else. Once you have compassion, guess what? If somebody is trying to pull you down, if somebody is trying to bully you, you stop chasing that perfect answer that will make the bully go away. Bullies are bullies for a reason. They like doing that, or they have some other issues going on. They have their own internal motivations that they are presenting this with to you for. They are going to come back no matter what you do. But then you think that your answer or your pushback wasn't perfect. It's never going to be perfect. Even if it were perfect, that person has an internal motivation to come back after you. So you accept that, okay, if I will give this answer, maybe only 50 or 60% of it is going to work. Maybe 40% will actually come back to bite. And I'm going to have self compassion for myself in that moment. This is deep work that again needs to be done with a very talented therapist or coach or advisor. But just some Cliff Notes version overview. All right, so that was quite a lot of heavy talk. I will give you a more interesting and entertaining example. I have a pomegranate tree. Now, it took a while for the tree to mature, but now it gives good fruit. So it took about 5 years. So until then, there was this whole idea of what can I do? What am I doing wrong? Why is the tree not having any flowers? Then one of the people at the garden center just said, wait, I was not ready for that patience. But, anyways, I waited. So now it gives me good pomegranates some of the years, not every year. I decided maybe I can spread the love, maybe create some baby pomegranate trees. When the fruit tree loses all the leaves in the winter and follows through in the spring, that's the best time to cut sticks off the branches and then plant them in soil to create newer saplings. So I took upon myself, took a few hours to put this together, and I had saplings arranged in this beautiful sort of tray. So maybe about 10 to 12 saplings. So about each cup had 4 to 5 sticks in there. And I watered it, I kept it in the greenhouse for a little bit. Then when the weather got better, it came out, paid attention to it, yada yada yada. None of them actually took life. They had all the best chances given to them. It had the right rooting powder, it had everything. So when I was walking through my yard, I saw there's a weed growing in one of the flower pots. I'm like, okay, I have to remove that. I think dandelions and some other weeds are growing in there. But there's this one stick that's coming up, and I'm like, it doesn't look like any weed to me. And then I look closer, it had the base of red color for the leaves. And I realized that when I ran out of space, in my small pots, but I still had a stick or two remaining. I stuck it without too much preamble in one of the side pots and completed my task and completely forgot about it. So, this plant has been out in the sun in the winter weather and it has only had water through whatever comes from the sprinkler system for the lawn. It's just by the lawn. No specific care was taken. I think the only specific care it got was the dandelion growing near it. Maybe the dandelion helped loosen the soil by some means. And yet, that was the only sapling that survived. The perfectionism did not instill the fighting spirit. I think having being left to your own devices and left to thrive had such a beautiful outcome. So I think about it often and realize we are all born with our own set of difficulties, whether they are physical, mental, or circumstantial, right? So, those with circumstantial difficulties, there's always going to be what if I had more money growing up? What if I had different parents? What if I had different circumstances? And a lot of people go through many, many, many hardships that would give you shivers up your spine to even think about. They do come fighting through, just like the pomegranate. Something to think about. So let's go back to social media. One of the things that happens, whether it is TikTok or Facebook or other social media, is that you see these perfectly created reels. And I touched upon this a little bit last time. You see people of a certain shape, you see people wearing certain fashions, you see people doing certain actions. Sometimes it can be extremely dangerous that you get the idea that for me to be liked, I need to be a certain size. And for that, I need to regulate my food in a certain way to match that, to be deserving of love. That creates an ripe environment for developing eating disorders. So I'm very careful, and we all should be very careful when talking about food and eating habits in any way or form on social media. What we also need to create are these awareness ideas for younger generation to just let them be, not have these ideas about, oh, I need to be a certain size to be popular. One of the other things it also creates is this pressure to have the right vacations, to have the right cars, acquire things to just get more likes or to just feel valued. We can kind of flip this on itself. Is this a value that I truly believe in? Do I really need a Maserati to feel successful? And am I okay with my beater from 2000? What is it serving me? Whom is it serving if I chase this? There are concepts in the yoga philosophy and the yama niyama, that is the do's and don'ts of life. There is something called aparigraha. So you are not coveting something that somebody else has. And asteya means non-stealing. So non-stealing, people will be like, oh, I'm not going to go rob a bank. No, it's not about that. Non-stealing might be keeping back a few things when you're out on your Costco run. I don't really need this right now. That creates less clutter in your home, but it also creates this idea of mindful living. I will only take in what I need. So if you are chasing some cloud, if you're chasing some other person's idea of perfection that has no true value in what you need in life, then it creates this sort of trying to covet and trying to take something that truly you do not need. That will keep you from the next step after yama niyama, which is actually doing the exercises and doing the meditation. It keeps you from mindfulness in a way. And this is a very big oversimplification, but I just wanted to present this. So let's tie this all back together. Perfectionism can bring some good results. We love to shine. How about we replace perfectionism with striving for excellence that is not perfect? Perfectionism can lead to procrastination and overwhelm. We can look at it more openly and say, I can do a part of it, give it for feedback, get it back, and then work on it for the next steps. Because there are things that you do not see the need for that other person will give back to you. That's how we work with each other. Perfectionism, overachieving, all of that will also give you anxiety, stress, high blood pressure, burnout, all things that are no good. It also is the thief of time. You're trying to be perfect at certain tasks. You forget to live. You forget to spend the sunlight with your children, with your parents, with your grandparents, with your friends. That is what makes life enjoyable. So bring back the joy in life. Let's remove the perfect parts or perfectionism parts that do not serve us. Over the next couple of weeks, let's observe this in our lives and others' lives and our expectations of society and society's expectations of us. Let's bring out a big box, not of Kleenex, but of compassion. Thank you for joining me today on MindSattva, Practical Wisdom for Modern Life. If today's episode sparked something within you, I hope you share it with a friend who may need it too. We discussed some ideas and concepts. Let's take some time to observe them in nature or in daily life. Until then, let's stay curious, grounded, and remember that balance is not a destination, it's just a beginning. Let's meet again, or audio.